I pray that as we open the scriptures, we will be able to hear God's voice inside those pages. Today we'll be reading from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verses 1 through 12, as well as from the letter of James, chapter 3, 13 through 18. And so today our scriptures tell us, beginning in Matthew chapter 5, that now, when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him, and then he began to teach them. He said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and who thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And blessed are you whenever people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you." Moving on briefly to the letter of James, chapter 3, starting at verse number 13. Again, our scriptures say to us, "Who is wise and understanding among you? Let them show it by their good life, by deeds done in humility that comes from wisdom. But if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth. For such wisdom does not come from heaven, but is earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you will find disorder and every evil practice. But the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. Peacemakers who sow in peace will reap a great harvest of righteousness." Thanks again be to our God for these scriptures that have been given to us this morning. We pray this in the name of Christ, who is our Savior. Amen. Well, my friends, if you were with us last weekend or the past couple of weeks, then you might be familiar that we've been talking about the early days, the very beginning stages of Jesus' ministry of preaching and teaching, particularly in the Gospel of Matthew. Now, in that text, in that story, Jesus first walks into the Gospel and talking for himself when he walks up to his cousin John at the River Jordan and asks to be baptized in the muddy water there. Immediately after that, Jesus is led out into the desert where he struggles and wanders and is tempted for 40 days and nights. And right after coming out of the desert, Jesus gets the news that his cousin John has been arrested. Perhaps is very likely to be executed. And it's in that place, in that context, that moment of his life, when Jesus begins to preach what he calls the good news. That the kingdom of heaven has come close to the earth. And in fact, you can see the kingdom. It is very close at hand if you could repent, if you could turn and follow him. That's That's the message we see him preaching there in Matthew chapter 4. And by preaching that message, he begins to gather a great many different crowds who pour out and follow him. He begins to heal them, release them from their oppression. And then we're told in Matthew chapter 5 that Jesus looks out over the crowds who have gathered. He sits down on a mountainside and he begins to teach them. That famous Sermon on the Mount begins with these words that are very familiar to us. Jesus begins throwing around especially this single word I'm sure you've heard many times before. I'm sure you've read it on greeting cards or heard it in daily interactions, any number of different ways. Jesus starts using the word blessed. Blessed are these people. Blessed are those people. And blessed are you. Now, I think if we're honest with ourselves, we might be able to admit that the way we use the word blessing or bless or to be blessed is usually a very casual and easy kind of way. If someone were to sneeze, you might hear somebody say that phrase, well, God bless you. Or you might just say it as a greeting or as a farewell, wishing somebody well. God bless, I'll talk to you later. Or if someone wants to share good news in their life, they might tell you that I am so blessed. In fact, it's a popular meme online to use that hashtag blessed, after sharing some kind of good news. You'll see people announce that online when they say they've had a new baby or they're announcing a new job or some new direction in life, and they'll say hashtag blessed because they're so happy what's going on in their lives. Or sometimes people use it so lightly, it's really more of a joke. I took a few tweets from the internet just for fun of the ways people have used the term hashtag blessed. One of them that I pulled off this past weekend was happiness is finding leftover Chipotle in the fridge that you'd completely forgotten about when you're hungry. Hashtag blessed. Another says class got out 20 minutes early today. Easiest Monday ever. Hashtag blessed. Finally, another says, thank the Lord Almighty for extended deadlines. Hashtag blessed.
How are those wrong uses of blessed?
Well, we'll get to that. You can see the term blessing thrown out a lot on the internet. Actually, the upper room, the devotional, which you might be familiar with here at our narthex, they had a tweet a while back that said, be a blessing to one another each and every day. Hashtag blessed. Now, I'm not telling you that this is an inherently wrong usage of the word blessed, but there is a clear sense in our society that whenever we use the word blessed or blessing or to bless, it's always very light, it's very easy, it's very positive. There's no baggage to the term to be blessed. And in fact, if we look at the Greek language that the Gospel of Matthew is written in, it's actually a very similar sense of the word. Literally in Greek, the word that Jesus uses to be blessed, makarios, means to be happy, to have benefits, to be favored. But maybe you should stop and ask yourself, when we're turning to Matthew chapter 5, the Sermon on the Mount, how come when Jesus starts telling people about blessings, he starts saying, blessed are those who are poor in spirit. Blessed are those who are hungry, who are thirsty, who are persecuted, who are meek. Even the positive virtues that Jesus lists off in his sermon, to be meek, to be merciful, to be a peacemaker. You know what, in those days, many of his audience members might not have seen those as particularly blessed things to do. A lot of the Jews felt that it was their religious responsibility to stand up for themselves, to cry for justice, to tell the Roman government to get out of their land. They felt to be blessed meant to have power, to have authority, to be strong. Jesus is, I feel, intentionally challenging his audience when he starts telling them that you are blessed to be poor, you are blessed to be hungry, you are blessed to be meek, merciful. It might sound a little bit like if I got online and announce to people that I have good news. My house is being foreclosed upon. We've lost everything. Hashtag blessed. People might think, what on earth is wrong with you? That doesn't sound like a blessing at all. And I think Jesus' audience probably were confused as well. What is this guy talking about? None of this sounds very blessed. And so what do you think Jesus might have been trying to say in his Sermon on the Mount when he's telling us these things? Do you think he was telling us that if you want to feel God's blessing, you need to get poor, you need to get hungry, you need to be persecuted? Or do you think Jesus might be telling us something a little deeper? I personally feel that his take on blessing was meant to be very subversive. It was meant to challenge people's expectations, meant to cause them to ask a few questions. What is a blessing? And what is it good for? Now, personally, I actually found the literal definition of what the term blessing means in our own language in English to be a very helpful metaphor to me. That's not the language that our gospel was written in, but I still feel like it has some light, maybe, to share on the subject. In the English language, the term bless or blessing or to be blessed originally comes from Old English or Proto-Germanic, and it comes from ancient words which mean to consecrate, to mark, as if with a ritual of marking something with water or with blood or with some other element. To be blessed means to be marked and set apart for a divine purpose. While blessing might mean to gain benefits, it doesn't merely mean to gain good things. Blessing can also mean that we have been marked and set apart by what has happened to us. We have been given a unique experience that God perhaps can use to change us, to help us to be able to see heaven breaking through the horizon. And if you've gone through a difficult experience, if you've tried to do the right thing in your life and you've been persecuted, you've been hungry, you've been made poor, you've suffered, if you see heaven breaking through, how powerful could that experience be to how you can bless others in this world? I'm reminded especially when talking about blessing with that ancient encounter in Genesis when God first talks to Abraham, and we hear this conversation echoed many times with Abraham's descendants. When God tells Abraham, I have a special promise, a special purpose for you. I am going to bless, to mark, to set apart you and all of your descendants so that you can be a blessing to the world. The oldest example of to be blessed in Scriptures is that blessing has a purpose. Blessing has a use. We're meant to actually take what happens to it and use it for the good. I'm not saying that Jesus is claiming that God will put difficult, challenging, or awful situations in your life just to bless you. But I am saying that God can take your baggage, your struggles, your hurts, your hunger, and use it for good. Not only can God empower you, strengthen you, fill you, help you to see heaven, but God can use that experience to make you into a blessing. To give you the ability to show others how God works in this world. How heaven breaks through into the darkness. And so I guess the invitation this morning I'm offering is simply to dwell on that question. What kind of struggles have I gone through? What kind of pressures have happened in my life? What kind of things have I tried to do that I thought were the right thing? And yet I suffered because of it. And how has God uniquely empowered me? What kind of special experience have I gained to be able to see the good coming through? How can I use that experience to become a blessing, to be marked by God, set apart for my own purpose? invite you to consider that. Join me in prayer today. God, as we gather together once more in worship, I ask, God, that you will help us to consider those challenging questions about what has happened to us in life and how the things that have weighed us down or made us struggle, how those can turn into a blessing, how you can strengthen us, how you can fill us, and how we can use our own experiences for good. Help us to be able to see heaven on earth and help us to be able to share that hope with others. We pray this again, Father, in the name of Jesus Christ.